Hi, I'm Brian of WVGamers. For hundreds of years, Japan was ruled by the shogunate. Atop of this structure was a shogun. A shogun was a strong military leader. Essentially, he ran the government despite there actually being a central figure there. He was basically a shadow leader that everyone knew was essentially in charge. Underneath of the shogun was a number of daimyo who basically looked after portions of the land. And they basically tried to make sure that everyone stayed in line, made sure the towns and the areas were stayed in control of the shogun, and made sure everyone stayed loyal and everything was prosperous. Now, this was certainly no easy task because there was always someone who thought they could uprise and take out the shogun, as happened a few times during the history of the shogunate. So, in Micro Dojo, you are basically trying to prove that you could become one of the daimyo. And you're going to be playing against another player and proving in this small little town that you have what it takes to manage the resources, to make the town prosperous, and keep everything kind of moving forward for the shogun. So, here is what you have in this very compact little baggie, because everything fits in just one small bag. This game actually will come in one small punch board that will come in a small padded envelope. So this game is coming to Kickstarter here in about 6 weeks from the recording of this video. So in late May, I believe. All the information will be in the description of the YouTube link and whatnot. But yeah, this is everything you get, plus there's some additional tokens in here that we're not using in this setup. But yeah. So this is a 2-player strategic game, and I have everything essentially set up, but each player will have a Daimyo token, which is basically representing your character, a little emblem, which is going to be used to keep track of your victory points along this track here, and then all the other tokens. At the bottom, there's going to be your little food tokens, which is a resource, and I just messed everything up, oh well, is a resource that you'll be collecting that you'll be able to turn in for potentially victory points or building or constructing buildings. You'll be able to collect coins for the same purposes as well. There'll be buildings along the sides here that you'll be able to perform build actions to construct, and they give you special perks, whether that's in the form of victory points or being able to collect additional of a certain type of resource when you collect that resource. So you may be able to get additional food. You may be able to get additional coins. You may be able to use actions, which we'll talk more about what these A's are, but they're actions to basically earn money. Yeah. And then finally, you have these objectives up here. Basically, the shogun is going to expect that you're going to perform certain tasks during this test to prove that you have what it takes to become his daimyo. And essentially, these are going to be things like have more food than the other player, or have more food once you subtract money than the other player. And all of this is outlined in the back of the rules, which is all in one sheet. Super easy, very straightforward. But essentially, you'll be able to perform actions to see if you qualify for the leftmost one of these that's available. And whatever score is underneath of it, as you can only barely tell, that's how many points you'll be awarded. So as these are completed, you'll just flip them over, and then they'll no longer be available to you. So you'll get 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3 victory points. Now the game will end when one of the 2 end conditions have been met. Either when one player has reached 7 points, which can happen right here, or when all 5 objectives have been completed. Now, when all 5 objectives have been completed, whoever has the most victory points at that point is the winner. In the event of a tie, you'll look and see if the second player has this little influence token, which we'll talk about. If they still do, then they are the winner. If there is still a tie, you'll add up you'll add up all of the available resources. That is the gold and the food. Whoever has the most at that point is the winner. If for some chance there's still a tie, then you'll just play again. But that's basically how the game is going to end. So let's talk about how the game is actually going to be played now. So the game's super simple. Essentially, you're going to pick one of these retainers, a meeple, and you're going to move it and perform the action on the space that they move to. So if I'm using this is my Daimyo, I'm going to take this, I'm going to move this person over here, and the space that I just moved onto has 2 coins. So I would take 2 of these coin tokens and collect it. I don't have the rest of the tokens out there in the bag, but there is 13 coins, a total of 13 coins that you can utilize. Each player can have a max of 7 coins and a max of 7 food. So yeah, you can pull those out of the bag whenever you're playing. You'll have them all out and available to you, of course. So I would collect 2. We'll just imagine that I pulled over 2. And then I would leave my Daimyo there, because that's important, because I won't be able to use this retainer again. And then this player, we'll say that this player's the second player. Second player will get this little influence token. This person's going to go here, and they're going to move this one over here. Under this is a little coin / food. So I'm going to take a food, so it's one or the other. And then a building. Now, I can't actually qualify for a building, but I want to talk what a building is. So buildings are these little buildings or tokens on the sides. Like I said, they give you certain perks. Now, at the bottom of them, they will tell you what it costs to buy them. So this one says it costs 1 food and 1 coin to purchase it. So if you have what it takes to pay for it, you'll turn those resources in and put this in front of you. It doesn't matter which side of the tile or the board it's on, that's just for a nice layout. So you'll take this, put it in front of you, and it's yours until the end of the game. Or if you have it in front of you when you perform a build action, if you no longer like this little building tile and you would like to donate it to the town, you can do that. If you donate this to the town, you'll lose the ability to use this anymore, but you'll basically just flip it over, no longer use it, but you'll be able to gain a victory point. So you'll just put yourself up a little victory point right there. So that is the 2 things you can do with the build action. And then finally, if somebody goes to one of these little A's, now this will go down here. So if you go here to this little A here, you'll perform one of the actions. And the actions have a couple different options for that. You could complete an objective. Now when you do that, it's the leftmost available objective. So in this case, it would be this one here, which this one says you must have the most food once you subtract money. So both players would count up all their food tokens, count up all their coin tokens, subtract their coin tokens from their total food tokens, and whoever has the most gets it. And so obviously you don't want to score an objective unless you know that you're the winner. Now, these are public knowledge, so you'll know if that's a good action for you to take. The other thing you can do is use one of your building's actions. So like this one here, it says 2 food. So you'll turn in one of your actions to get 2 food out of this. Now you can only use each individual building's action once per turn. So even though this thing here, this space here has 2 actions on it, I can only use this building once. But if I had 2 buildings, like this one and this one over here, I can use them each once. I can turn in any 2 pairs of resources for another type. So I could turn in 2 coins for 1 food. I could turn in 4 coins for 2 food, and so on. So basically any pair of one resource I can turn in for a single of the other. And you can do that as many times as you want during an action. And then finally, you can turn in 5 of a resource, and it all has to be a same resource, back to the town to give yourself a victory point. So that's another way that you can earn victory points. Now, some of these buildings will actually give you basically an improved version of that, where it may only cost you 3 food or 4 food or 4 coins or something to basically get that victory point. So keep an eye on which buildings come out. And there are different buildings in here. So each time you play this game, there is multiple different combinations of loadouts that you'll have. So no 2 games will usually be the same. I forget how many buildings there are, but yeah, there's quite a few combinations. So there's a lot of replayability with this game. And so yeah, so let's say this is the end of that player's turn. So let's get back to kind of talking through what would happen now that it's back to the green player's turn. Now it's back to the green player's turn. They have to take their token, and they have to now move one of the other meeples that are available. They cannot use the same meeple they just came off of. They cannot use the meeple that the other player is currently on. So they would have to choose one of these. So they really just want the rice. So they'll actually take this just to kind of prevent this player from blocking this player from using that, basically. So I guess it really doesn't matter too much. There's a little bit of strategy. Once you play it a few times, you can kind of think about how you'd want to play through, like, strategically. So kind of think through. So if you want to prevent a player from getting a whole lot of rice, like in this case, just make sure they can't. Like in this case, they can get 1 rice there. So you might see that there's a building that they may want for 2 rice, and they need 2 rice. So keep an eye on what the buildings are available. Keep an eye on what resources they have. Think through what they might be trying to do on their next turn, and just try to block them. Simple as that. But if they happen to be the second player, and they happen to have this little influence token, your planning may not even matter anyways, because once per game, they can discard this little influence token. Whee! I didn't mean to throw it that far. And they can remove your token from a spot, giving it back to you. You use it again, but then they can place their person on you and utilize the meeple or retainer that you just were on. So basically, it gives them a new option that they wouldn't have. But remember that in addition to, being able to use that ability once per game, it's also a tiebreaker. So you want to use that wisely, because you only got 1. And basically, you're going to play back and forth in this same kind of fashion. And yeah. So it's a really, really neat little game. It's compact. It's a lot of fun. Let me switch over here. So I really, really like this. I've looked at a lot of small games. And frankly, as much as I love big games, big showy games, sometimes I really just want something compact, because if I'm going to see some friends, I don't want to carry super heavy games all the time. Sometimes we just want to play some quick little games, get as many, rapid games in as possible, just to kind of have a lot of exposure to different titles. So yes, there's a time for something heavy like Twilight Imperium, but other times I want something light. I want something light like this. So yeah, I really like this. This is something that we really like as well, because me and Amanda play a lot of 2-player games. There's just 2 of us in this household. So I try to get the dogs to play, but I don't think they don't quite get it. I'm also afraid they would just eat the pieces. So that's not going to work. So we'll never be able to play Ticket the Ride or anything with them. Anyways, that's beside the point. So we like 2-player games like this. And more lately, Amanda's been enjoying strategic games like this. Like a few years ago, I never thought Amanda would like AEG's War Chest. She actually kind of really likes War Chest. So there's certain strategic games like that she likes. And this is one of them. So I like when I can find games like this, because I like strategic games like this. And when it's light enough that it's really quick, You could teach it to anybody within minutes, and you can have a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy to be had in it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that this game fits in a bag like this, and honestly, I hope that one of the plans for the Kickstarter is a drawstring bag or something, because I don't love this. Frankly, I don't love this. I will likely put mine into a drawstring bag, but what I would love to see is their little logo onto a drawstring bag. It'd be perfect at that point. I think that would be very cool. Specifically, maybe it would be too much, especially because this is a cheap game, but it'd be really cool if they could do an add-on that those Japanese like drawstring bags that you always see in like animes and stuff like that. I'm thinking like the ones in Rurouni Kenshin specifically. It's probably time period specific, correct too? Yeah. Didn't Yajirobe have one of those drawstring bags? Yeah. I hope I'm getting that name right. I don't want to have to re-record this whole thing if I got that wrong. Anyways, yeah, it'd be really cool to get something that was kind of semi-time period, sort of correct. But yeah, I would love to see something like that. A couple things that people may not love about the game is if you don't have the greatest of eyesight, this game might be a little bit of a struggle. Now, if you have one person who has good eyesight and one who doesn't, you're probably going to be fine, because as long as you can see you can figure out what the objectives are and somebody can tell you what the cost of the buildings are, you're fine. Most of the icons pretty much speak for themselves. But those are the two things that are going to be a little bit hard. Specifically, let me go back over to this. Specifically, these are a little hard to see. Some of these icons on this brown like parchment, it's a little hard to see. So I'm hoping maybe they revisit a color with background of that. I know it looks the best, or maybe just outline it in a different color. I'm not sure. I don't know what's really feasible, but there's just a few very, very minor tweaks that I see. But honestly, even if those would not get done, it's a really fun game. It's going to be a very cheap game from what I can tell. So very affordable. The fact that it fits in a little bubble envelope means it's going to be cheap to ship, unlike a lot of Kickstarters that you see being very, very expensive. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this looks like. Another thing unrelated to the game, I've been really impressed. A lot of Kickstarters, I've watched a lot of them, and I watch a lot of different groups. A lot of them, the makers are passionate about their game, but sometimes they'll just put the game up and just let it run for itself. What I've noticed about this designer, he's very active with his community. He's taken a lot of feedback. Like, the version of the rules that I have are already out of date because he's already taken in a lot of comments about some of the artwork, some of the things that might be culturally insensitive that he didn't think about during his initial run. He's taken a lot of those things into consideration, even though he's already this far along. So he's going to go back, and he's already redone some of the art and a lot of those types of things. He's already put out new rules as of, I think, like a week ago. So I'm already out of date. He's very active. So I like seeing, creators like that. That makes it, even if the game was kind of terrible, which it's not, this is excellent. I like seeing people very passionate about their projects. And that's one thing I can immediately see. The designer of this game is very passionate. So I want to see this be successful because I really want to see what this guy's going to come out with next. So yeah, if this looks like something you would enjoy, certainly go and check out his Facebook page. I think it's called Micro Dojo. If you search for Micro Dojo in Facebook, you'll find it. He's easy to find. I'll have links for everything. We have our written review that'll go up at the same time this video is going up. We'll have links to everything, the Kickstarter, all of it. And yeah, I really, really like this game. It's simple. It's simple, but it's very strategic. So I like it. I also I like the theme anyway, so. Anyways, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. I'm Brian with WVGamers.